So it goes without saying that the Southern Baptist Convention has a lot of Calvinism that's creeping into that convention. There's a lot of churches that are basically Southern Baptists that agree with the doctrines of Calvinism and they believe in the doctrines of Calvinism. And they would even go as far as to, let's say, if they're like debating someone or if someone is talking to them in a private conversation, they will flat out say that, yes, I am a Calvinist. We believe in Calvinism. We agree with the doctrines of Tulip and so on. But what's interesting is that some of these churches that are Calvinist and Southern Baptist at the same time, for whatever reason, they have this policy, and it's kind of a weird thing, but you'll notice it with some of these churches, where basically when they're preaching from the pulpit specifically, like if they're preaching a sermon for the church, they could teach the doctrines of Calvinism. They're going to teach like these sort of reformed, doctrines of grace or whatever, but they're going to explicitly, or rather, I should say, they're going to intentionally refrain from using the words Calvinist, Calvinism, Calvinistic. They're not going to use those words whatsoever when they're preaching from the pulpit, describing what they believe. Okay, they might teach the concepts, they might teach the doctrines of Calvinism without actually using that specific word. But then when it comes to private conversations, they'll say like, "Oh yeah, I'm a Calvinist. Yeah, we believe in Calvinism, X, Y, Z." Right? Which kind of is kind of weird. Like it doesn't even make any sense because if it's good enough for you to say it to someone in a private conversation or when you're just out and about, let's say you're on a you're on a debate platform or something, you're debating Calvinism, saying, "Hey, I believe in Calvinism. I stand for Calvinism. The Bible teaches Calvinism," so on and so forth. Okay, well, if it's good enough for a public debate, if it's good enough for all these other situations where you talk to people and you flat out say that you're a Calvinist, then why in the world are you intentionally avoiding using that word when you're preaching on the pulpit, preaching to your own church, right? Which honestly, I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense at all. It's very disingenuous, and there's just no there's no reason for it. Now, obviously, Calvinism is a false doctrine anyway. It's very easy to debunk from the Bible. But my point is like, look, if you're gonna call yourself a Calvinist on a public debate that anyone can watch online, if you're gonna call yourself a Calvinist in public conversations or private conversations that you just have with church members or whoever else, then why would it not be good enough to preach it from the pulpit and explicitly use that word if you're going to explicitly use that word in other occasions when you speak about what you believe, right? Like it just doesn't make any sense.